director of Big Brothers and Big Sisters, an amazing organization in our community and across Canada.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so how many Big Brothers and Big Sisters are there across Canada?
Across Canada, I think last year was around 26,000 kids served across
26,000 kids
across the country. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's 106 agencies across Canada.
106 Big Brothers,
Yeah.
Big Brother,
Yeah.
Big Sister agencies.
Yeah.
Cool. And like your growth for the need for your services has really, like from you've got a long time career with Big Brothers and
Yeah.
Big Sisters. How many years?
I've been there just over 10 years.
Over 10 years.
Yeah.
But you've seen huge growth during that period of time.
Yeah, we've definitely increased and offered different programs that we didn't do before, and serving different demographics of kids, and that's resulted in high numbers of kids, and then they need it, right? Lots of kids in our community need that support.
Definitely. Yeah, no question. I just had the tour last week of the addition onto the Big Brothers Big Sisters, and when you in your file room, you were showing me that the original files, like the first 10 years are like a box, right? And then after that, the next year is like 5 boxes. It was like a huge, obvious how much difference the need has been. Right?
Yeah, so you definitely can see the increase from when we started in 1973.
Right.
There's, I think, 1 box from 1973 to 1985, and then there were 4 boxes for 2019.
Yeah.
So it definitely has increased.
So why do you think that is? Was it underreported back in the day, or kids just didn't have as much need because they were getting what they needed in the environments that they had, or?
I think that the start really would have been your quintessential little boy who dad wasn't around,
right,
and was being raised by mom and was lacking that male support. And, because that was the start of Big Brothers. And then adding Big Sisters, it was maybe more about like female empowerment.
Right.
And then as we've grown, it's about providing kids with potential and providing them with opportunities for them to experience things they wouldn't be able to. Or that maybe they just don't have enough people in their circle of support.
Right.
So they come to us to provide them with that one-to-one mentor or group, because we offer group programs as well.
Right.
So, we have lots of different style of program to fit every kid, and I think for us, just our footprint has grown so much, and really in the past 5 years that we're just seeing the need, I think, has always really been there. It's just people seeking our services.
Got it. Maybe perhaps more awareness and more perceived value for what you do, right?
For sure.
That people say, oh man, Big Brothers Big Sisters was great for our daughter Sarah, or whatever, that kind of a thing. And then so more kind of just greater awareness and more uptake on the offer kind of a thing.
For sure.
Yeah, cool. And then right now you have how many littles are in your network, in your office?
So right now we have about 60 matches in our one program. That's the traditional where volunteer takes child out in the community for 2-3 hours a week. Then we have around 20 matches in our in-school mentoring program, and then our 2 or 3 other programs that are site-based kick off in a couple weeks, and we'll serve probably 100 to 200 kids in those 2 programs. And that's Teen Mentoring, Game On, Go Girls, which those are the group-based programs.
Got it, yeah.
Yeah, so.
And then you have kids that are waiting for a match, too.
Always.
Yeah,
so,
and what's your number now? How many kids are on a waiting list right now?
There are 49 littles waiting in the community-based program, and then there's 27 waiting in the in-school mentoring program. So we only carry a wait list for 2 programs, because the other ones are school-based and they have a start and end date. Those ones are more the school will say, oh, this child wants to participate, and then they join. We just carried those wait lists on the 2.
Got it.
Yeah.
And what the age range of the kids that are looking for a big is, what kind of age range would that be?
It's funny, that number has never changed since I started.
Really?
The average age of a child waiting in our community-based program is 10.
10.
Yeah, and we serve kids 6 to 18. We say 6 to 16 because if a kid came to us at 18, it'd be really hard to put them in that relationship. So we put kids in that program 6 to 16. And then our school-based program has always been 11.
Really?
Yeah.
But the community-based one, 10.
Has always been 10, the average age.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah,
right?
I find it very, and that's 10 years that it's been like that.
Wow. Yeah. Huh. That's interesting. And from practical experience, I know what a pleasure it is to be a big. I like during COVID times, I had some time on my hands. I decided I was going to try some different things, so I tried being a big virtually only. And in COVID, what do? So it was kind of bizarre because I think I told you this already. I would get my coveralls and go in my garage, and my little would have his coveralls and be in his garage, and we'd have our little Zoom meeting. And what are you working on there? And that kind of thing. Now we're out in the community doing stuff. We're actually volunteering together, and it's huge fun. We're having a lot of fun together.
And I love when you started that you said, I can only commit to virtual. I can commit to this, and I'm going to do virtual, and I'm going to... So we said, well, we don't know how long this is going to be. Probably we'll say 4 months. And you're like, I'm in for 4 months. And as soon as we started that face-to-face, I knew you would say, okay, we're going to keep going.
And that's exactly what happened. Yeah. Pretty early on, saying, all right, okay, I can. Yeah.
You can't not. It's so much fun being a big.
It is. It is fun, no question. And I'm sure all the kids would be similar to my little in that they're just like wanting somebody to hang out with, who wants to listen to them and wants to be there, right?
Yeah, so every kid waiting wants that relationship. They want to big. We base matches on compatibility. Yeah. So whenever we're looking for somebody with similar interests, similar values, and so that it's happy, safe, and successful.
Right, exactly. And you don't have to be perfect to do this. A matter of fact, I think my little has heard the F-bomb more times than he should have, but oops, sorry about that.
Yeah. We're all humans, and I've had to have conversations with bigs about, okay, we had a big who lived out of town once, and he was such a good big brother.
Yeah.
And he went for a drive and was going to drop his little off, and he had to stop. He wanted to stop and pick up some beer to take home.
Oh, yes.
So he stopped at the liquor store and then drove his little home. And so I remember being caseworker saying, it's not an issue, but I don't think that was the best choice
I can understand
to stop at the liquor store. And he was like, I didn't even think of that. So that's the part we play in making sure that the matches, things are going well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And your folks do a really good job at that.
I have amazing staff.
Yes, you do. So, well, that's very cool. And anyway, so there's a wait list.
There is.
And you don't have to have any special skills. A caring adult who wants to spend some time listen to a young person talk about their life or maybe ask you for advice. That's not part of it. It's mostly listening. Yeah. But a couple times I was asked for advice, and I shared what I something that my little didn't know, hopefully. So so that was some value there. So
it's just about spending time together, and really it's letting that child know that you're there for them. And there's no strings attached to it.
Right, exactly. Right? Yeah, it's not like where the only thing that I want to see that I'm of help to the little, and of course that makes me feel good. That
for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's just as bigs get just as much out of it as littles do.
Yeah,
right.
Like in my Rotary Club, do you know Kim Davis?
Yeah,
you know Kim. Yes. Yeah. So Kim, she says, and it's succinct and very accurate. Doing good feels good, right? And that's the reality of it, right? And now, from listening to Tracy, you have Tracy Harvey.
Oh, yeah. She's wonderful.
She's wonderful. And so knowledgeable. I've learned so much in those sessions that you've been doing there, and the last one's this Friday.
It is, yeah.
And so much in it, and that whole, now I understand with the whole mirror neurons thing, I get how that actually plays out in actual physiology, how it works in your body, right? Yeah. So, or your mind, I guess. But
why the brain acts the way it does.
Exactly.
And especially if there's been past trauma or something that's happened to these kids, you really understand why maybe they behave the way they do at times.
Yes. One thing that Tracy told me about was that the book by Bruce Perry, The Boy That Was Raised by a Dog, what an amazing book. It was like, I learned so much, and you just about couldn't put it down. Like, once you started a chapter, it was like, I want to see how this works out for this kid, right? Like, that kind of thing. And just an incredible book. And the hope of, like, where kids have been in horrendous neglect and abuse situations and then have been able to bounce back and have, like, a good life, right? With some support and intervention and, like, the right interventions to help them along.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
And we have to look at kids from that preventative side, and I think sometimes there's not enough focus on that prevention piece for children. We're going too far down the line trying to help people. If we can, helping kids right from the beginning, they're going to go live happy, successful lives.
Right. Yes, exactly. I'm with you 100%. Did you know that I actually redid my mission statement recently?
Oh, what's your mission statement?
Well, I had a mission statement for 35 years, and it was the same, right?
Yeah.
And it was good. There was nothing wrong with it. But during COVID times, I had a little bit of time, and I was reviewing my mission statement, and I kind of found a couple things in it that really kind of weren't quite accurate. One is that I made reference to that I'd be of value to others, but nowhere did I find what others meant, right? Well, obviously others, my wife would have to be kind of at the top of the others thing, but she wasn't. She was just lumped into the category of others. So I kind of structured that, but I add in specifically a thing saying, from now until I die, I am going to provide time, talents, and treasure to try and reduce adverse childhood experiences for children, or, if you look at it the other way, enhance childhood experiences, provide better childhood experiences. So anyways, I built it into my mission. I'm really excited about it.
I love that, because I remember when I told you about ACEs.
Yeah.
Because that was at a Street Wheelers barbecue.
Yes.
That we had a conversation, and I said, well, have you ever heard about ACEs?
Exactly.
And you ran with it. I love it.
Oh, well, I was just amazed by it. And it's kind of like a worldwide epidemic, ACEs are, that the consequences are amazingly poor, amazingly terrible, right? If there's unchecked, if there's no interventions that come into place.
Absolutely.
The second book that Bruce had, which is Born to Love, with Maya, can't think of her last name. But anyways, that book, the numbers, like for kids with 4 or more ACEs, the chance of suicide 1,221% higher with kids with 4 ACEs if they don't get the help they need. And their lifespan is 20 years shorter. Their capacity to be a parent and to enjoy being part of a community is way, way impaired, right? And just their capacity to have a good life is so reduced if they don't get the interventions, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And for us, ACEs has been something that we definitely focus on. So we get our kids ACEs when they come in.
Right.
And so 69% of our kids have a 6 or higher score.
Exactly. And if you don't know what ACEs are, like these are, you saw your father beat your mother. You've been raped or beat by your adult in your life. You've seen your parents arrested. You've seen horrendous things.
Yeah,
right?
it's about if kids have witnessed or been in a household that was that had these things. So if there was food insecurities, if there was physical violence, sexual violence, emotional, or neglect on kids, and it's just that a tick off, regardless of if it was one time or if that did happen. It's yes,
exactly. And there's 10 different things, all things that kids. I mean, everyone growing up has challenges in their life. That's part of growing up.
Definitely.
But this is challenges beyond what a lot of people can withstand, right, without help.
And when you add those things up, right?
Right.
Incarceration, violence, drugs, it really, you can see why.
Right.
It's so traumatic.
Right, exactly. In the book, we're talking about Bruce Perry's book, The Boy Who Was Raised as a Child. What happened, the title of the book kind of a thing, tells the story about this young woman has a child, can't keep the child, her life is a mess kind of a thing, goes to mom to care for the child. Mom, caring adult, wants to take care of the child, but she's elderly and she's morbidly obese. So it really doesn't have the capacity. So not long after she dies, and her boyfriend is in his 60s, knows nothing about kids, knows about dogs. So he raises the kid like he would a dog. He puts him in the cage, feeds him the same way, all this kind of thing. For years, nobody asked the question. Everybody just says, "Oh, the kid's he has a problem with his brain. His brain is done, so therefore he will never ever get better." And then when they start asking questions and then start introducing movement and play and speech therapy and all these things, the kid bounces back and still has an amazing life of it. I mean, what an amazing story, right? So, because they just wrote him off, like this kid's done, right? So his brain's too small. His brain's too small because it wasn't doing any work, because it wasn't engaged at all. It was an amazing story. So,
Bruce Perry's piece.
Love that. Yes. Yeah. So anyways, that's kind of that's not kind of, that is...
I love it.
Thank you.
That's so great.
Yeah. So, and I don't know if this is, I think there's going to be real help. Have you ever heard of Ripen, not Rotary Ripen, but this RIIPEN?
Mm-mm.
All right, so it's an agency that works with companies or agencies and connects them to schools.
Okay.
So I have 3 different things. I put a thing in Ripen. Say, hey, I would like to do research on ACEs and come up with some ways that just a normal caring adult could help kids who need help.
Okay.
Right? So basically kind of understand the scope of it, understand what the interventions might be, and then provide maybe some training for simple interventions that any caring adult could do that would make life better for a child that's in that circumstance. And some of it's going to be saying hi. Some is going to be asking a question, those kind of things, right? Yeah. So anyways, I have 3 young people in Centennial College in Toronto that are going to work on this. Oh. I've got a class at the college that's going to work. Got a class at the university that's going to work on it.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, it's exciting.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
So, because I think right now the problem with it is that people just see it as something you can't fix. There's nothing you can do about it. It's too big. It's systemic. It's and it's huge problems. But there are interventions that you can do, right?
Well, and I think that even that I do some work with Alberta Mentoring Partnership as well. So I last year I was helping them develop their strategic plan, and so you can look at like that word mentoring in so many different ways, and that people don't realize the effect that they had. So if you think back to when you were a kid, and if there was somebody who made a mark for you. Well, most likely it's not going to be a big brother or big sister. It's going to be somebody else. So Alberta Mentoring Partnership is trying to, empower to let people know that, like the school bus driver, the impact they're having on that little boy who's struggling to make his day is way bigger than what you think it is.
Definitely.
And so trying to look at things not from, you can't fix this, but if we all were to play our part
a little bit
and make kids feel important. And so I always try to remember kids' names whenever I meet them, or I remember something about them.
Yeah.
And so there's this little girl who comes into our office, and she's not she's 14 now, but she wears cowboy boots.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And every time I see her, I'm like, oh, those cowboy boots. And if she's not wearing them, I'm like, where are the cowboy boots? And every time I talk to her, it's just like big smile. And
nice.
you know that's
that interaction is so important.
And she will remember those things, right? And so it's not, you don't have to make these big things. You can do these little, to your neighborhood kid, right? You see walk into school every day. What's their name? Get to know them.
Yeah.
Ask them about things, because it does matter. I
agree. And that intervention is so small. It
is.
Where's your cowboy boots and big smile and a connection, right? So that's great. So anyways, that's kind of my hope, is that we develop some things through that we can share with people, and then people that will just take a little bit of time to pause and have that interaction. It's going to make life better, way better for that kid, and it's going to make it better for you that you've done some value for that child, right?
Exactly.
So, and for our community, way less crime, way less addiction, way less poor health, all those kind of things, right? Yeah. So a stronger community and stronger kids, right? Yeah. So anyways, I'm excited about that.
I like that. That's great.
Yeah. And Tracy Harvey, oh my goodness.
I know. I was so happy when she reached out to us and said I wanted to do this training.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to see what you guys what comes out of it, and I know that the feedback has been really exciting and very positive, and felt that they've learned a lot. And I don't know have you looked at the brain story training?
Already did it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I did that about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was a great course. Matter of fact, the young people I'm working with at Centennial College, that was my assignment to them to do brain story certification, because it was so well put together, so easy to follow along, and you learn so much in the process.
You do, and that's onboarding at our organization. If you work with us or you practicum student, you have brain story is the first thing I get them to do, because then they really realize, how that toxic stress and trauma, what that does to a child's brain. But then when you move into the positives of what a positive relationship can do for those kids as well.
Right. The homeless in Lethbridge, you know how I'm on that CWSS?
Yeah,
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I understand that of homeless people in Lethbridge, there's about 200.
Yep.
The vast majority are Blackfoot.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have, are your kids the vast majority Blackfoot?
No.
No.
So we serve roughly about 15% of our kids in school programs are Indigenous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do offer programs out in Brockett.
Oh, okay.
We work with the schools in Brockett, and that we've worked with them for about 3 years now, going out and running programs like Game On or Go Girls, and it's been very successful, really supported by the school, and on the reserve they want us there, but yeah, the homeless population is something that, I mean, it's such a challenge for our community.
Agreed.
And
Yeah.
we need to do better.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I believe that part of this whole reorganization is also increasing capacity, right? Because like the whole anyway, so I think that's going to be a good thing that's going to come out. There's going to be some turmoil, no question, right?
Definitely.
And in COVID times, to add to the turmoil, it's even worse. But the long term, it seems very a lot of sincerity to improve the experience for those that need it most.
Absolutely.
And put more resources to those that need it most.
Yeah.
Like basically raise the resource level for everybody, but certainly more on that side and shift more towards those that have the highest need.
Yeah.
Right? So.
And that strategy, they've done so much work, right, from the beginning.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I sit on that hoping we get funding, but I can't see us not.
Right.
We've been funded for, and if we lost that funding, it would be detrimental to our organization. So we'll see what happens. That's all we can do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what you're doing, super, super important, right? So
it is.
I look at it in terms of if we had this much to invest in of time, talents, treasure collectively, right? If you invested in kids, so you're making a difference in their life now, but for their next 40, 50, 100 years, right?
Exactly.
And then you're also making a huge difference in the community because of that.
Well, we know from research with Big Brothers Big Sisters that and the Boston Consulting Group did a 10-year study on children who were in Big Brother Big Sister mentoring programs, that there's a $23 social return on that investment for every $1 that goes to the organization.
$23 return socially.
Return socially. So kids who are in our programs graduate from those programs, and they go on to volunteer in their community, donate their own money back in, and are upstanding citizens. Yeah. So that's like, we're always pushed that being in our programs means something, not just now but later. Yes,
very much so. I got a story to tell you related to this. When I was a young, 12 or 13 or something, I was playing hockey, right? And my family really had no interest in hockey. But there was a person in the community, his name was Maurice Lanoux. Mo Lanoux is what people called him, Mo Lanoux. And he was the guy who ran the school bus and hauled water and coached the kids hockey, right? And I don't know how this happened, like about probably 15 years ago, I thought of him, and I thought, I'm going to write him a letter. So I wrote him a letter saying, hey, Mr. Lanoux, I don't know if you remember me. Obviously I didn't make the NHL or anything, but I appreciate what you taught me about sportsmanship, about working together with teams, about, when you succeed and when you fail. I appreciate those lessons you taught me, right? So I wrote it, and then he lived in just outside of Winnipeg, a little town called Headingley. Yep. And so the next time I went through Headingley, I was going to try and have a visit, and it didn't work out. But that's okay. And so I never actually chatted with him about it. But then about 5 years after I sent the letter, his son called me. And his son called and said, you sent a letter to my dad. I said, yeah. Well, he's passed away, and in his bureau with his special letters was your letter. I was just like, that's so nice, right? Because his time that he spent with me made a difference for me, and it also made a difference for him, right? So it was a great thing. So so just to show that same thing for your littles come through a program, and they got some support and they got some help, and when they're done, they're saying, how can I give back?
Exactly.
Right? So so it's a beautiful thing.
It is. It's very important.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I was going to tell you that this is when I met Tracy, and then she was telling me through the course of our teachings, she was telling me about EMDR. Okay, and you're familiar with that, yeah. And so that it's basically for commonly for people who have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So I met with her, and I said, okay, I don't have post-traumatic stress disorder, but like I think I have some self-limiting beliefs that I would like to minimize. Can you help me with that? And she says, oh yeah, sure. So we did the whole EMDR thing.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. That was good. Have you ever tried it?
I haven't. I've been too scared to do it.
It's very interesting
Yeah.
because basically mine was kind of some sort of, I guess, about rejection.
Yep.
Like where, you know, some things that I thought were unfair and I was kind of clinging to those and then not really being very authentic because I was too worried about what people would think.
Yeah.
And you got to get out of that, right? Like do what you can do and how you're going to contribute and how you're going to help. And if other people don't like it, you know, oh well, that's, you know, you just, so anyways, so I just we sort of created an image of that, and then she does her EMDR thing, and then you make that image smaller.
Yeah.
And then you make the emotional connection to that image smaller. And so it was very cool. And so I did that, and then I said, okay, so now Tracy, can you go the other way? If you want something positive, you want to focus on making better choices about you eat and exercise and, you know, the things that, like, you know, just kind of make those easier to be kind of like programmed in for you, because that's what it stands for, eye movement desensitization and reprogramming. So anyways, that's what we did. We did it the other way. It's good. I love it.
For me, it's that I don't like conflict, so I know that it would be something that I'd have to look at, that conflict side of things.
Oh,
and
yes.
I just try to shy away from it.
Well, I really liked it. I enjoyed it,
good.
and I learned a lot with it, and I think it helped me kind of minimize some self-limiting behaviors and focus more on basically how am I going to contribute in a more meaningful and more meaningful way, basically. So it kind of helped me focus on that. So anyways, I'm real excited about it. So,
I like that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. So
Good.
yeah.
No, she's great.
Yeah, she is.
I think how many people are in that? 7 or something?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, we got a private class with somebody who really knows their stuff.
Definitely.
So, yeah. So very good. I've been enjoying that too.
Good.
So
I'm glad.
Yeah. Yes. So you probably, I never asked you this question, but where I'm talking about these little interventions, you know what those little interventions are already. Like you could probably write the book to say, here's the things. If you want to teach somebody, just here's the basics kind of a thing is all you need to know.
Yeah, I think being in the world I've been in for 10 years, right?
Yes.
That focusing on that has definitely taught me a lot and even helped me through even becoming a mom and going through that. And but just being really empathetic and understanding that you don't know anything and you can't presume anything from a family, because I always say, like, perception and reality, right?
Yes.
And I work really hard to ensure that that person who I am, like at home with my family, is the same person interacting with kids, is the same person in my job, so that it's genuine.
Right.
And I come from a genuine place for my job.
Right.
And I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it and didn't know that it was having an impact.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's activity you enjoy the interaction, and the impact that you're making.
Absolutely, And Big Brothers is an amazing organization.
I agree.
And we have such support in our community. We fundraise 75% of our income.
Is that right?
And that comes from our generous community.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then not only just the money part of it, but all of your bigs, right?
Yes.
Like the network of bigs is how big? How many bigs are there again?
So when we look at kids served, we can look at them a couple different ways. So we say last year we served 686 kids.
Right.
But we count teen mentors in that as well, because they're kids and they need support and guidance from us.
Right.
But if I look at children under the age of 18, who are littles, there's 380.
380.
So from that, we have at least 380 to 500 volunteers, because not every volunteer with us is a big.
Right.
We have board members, we have general volunteers, we have a vast majority of people we pull from.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so there's their time, their collective time they're contributing as well, in terms of in addition to the fundraising that you do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're governed by a board, and just like any other organization, and we have a really strong board who really believes in Big Brother Big Sister culture.
Right. And you know what? I think one thing that the whole questionable financial things at the safety section. I think that's what's the worst part about that is how people who would otherwise be donors might look at all charities.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's an anomaly. That's not the way it normally is. Like the financial recourses and the financial reviews and the checks and audits that go into most charities are very, very thorough. And that was really an exception that things got so awry there.
It did. And as an executive director in the city, I felt betrayed.
Sure.
Like, I felt that that's my same job, and it's just such a shame. And I mean, I don't there's always more to the story than what's in the media, and there always is. But I know from our perspective, I have 2 CPAs on my board. I don't come from a financial background, so I surround myself with a board who has high financial knowledge.
Right.
And that we ensure that there's every check and balance in place, and it doesn't matter what organization it is, there's always risk. There's a very high risk of fraud in a nonprofit because there's just easy access to things, but that's why you set policies and procedures in place to ensure you follow those. And from our perspective, I can say we adhere to those so strongly, and I could never do anything that would jeopardize my organization.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess the point is for our viewers, if that situation gives you pause about donating, know that's really the exception. Most agencies, like Big Brothers and Big Sisters, Jen in that role has a whole bunch of protocols she follows to ensure financial responsibility.
Absolutely.
Right? And to ensure that things are appropriately recorded and done. So
and Money Sense rated Big Brothers Big Sisters in the top 100 charities in Canada.
Nice.
So we do sit that there is such strong things in place, and we have to adhere by a national standard. So guidance of what's followed by Big Brothers Big Sisters of Canada, split into 2 categories: service delivery. So when you came through as a big, all those protocols that are a lot.
Yes, we
adhere to those, and we're accredited through that as well.
Sure. Yeah,
and it's a positive experience and a positive system that needs to be there.
Exactly, and I certainly had no qualms about the onboarding type process, because you as an agency want to make sure you're not going to make situations worse for a little, right? That's kind of job one, do no harm kind of a thing, right? Yeah. And hopefully get some do some good, right? As well.
And there are so many, safety procedures in place,
right?
Because we need to ensure that our kids are safe,
yes.
And it doesn't just carry on through the intake process. It carries on your whole match, right? That's why Emma's calling you all the time, is because that's a standard. We have to talk to you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, just to make sure you're still on track.
And what's going on? Are there any issues, any concerns? We're a support for the child, the family, and the volunteer.
Exactly, yeah. So, well done.
Well, thank you.
Well done. I wasn't at all put out by all the work involved, all the forms I had to fill out.
It's a big application.
It is. But it's being prudent, and that's real important.
It is. And again, we need to know all these things about you, so you got matched to a little that you have similar interests to, and that we know is going to be happy, safe, and successful.
Exactly. And the whole thing about him wanting to drive all the time. When I was his age, I wanted to drive all the time. When I was 12, I had my first car. And I obviously couldn't drive it on the road, but I had a little piece of land out behind the house that I would drive this car, drive my circles in, exactly. And if I got really crazy, I'd go into my mom's garden, and then she was not very happy with me when you're spinning tires through the garden. That was
not so much.
No, that wasn't very good. So, but anyways, yes, he very much likes to drive, as do I.
Yeah.
I don't know why driving is so enjoyable for me, but it still is. So, yeah.
Relaxing, right?
It's relaxing, and I also like the acceleration. I enjoy that.
I think that's a guy thing, right?
It's too. When you're feeling you're tight into a turn, or you're feeling you're accelerated hard, and it's enjoyable. So, Yes. So, what else should we talk about? Do you want to talk about your family and how COVID has impacted your life?
Oh, yeah. COVID was, school being closed was, step one. And I think 2020 is a year of being adaptable, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good way of looking at it. Yes.
And just that unknown.
Yes.
So I have an 8-year-old son, and he has been at my hip since March. I love him to pieces, and we have spent so much time together that I wouldn't have had that experience if COVID didn't happen. So if you look at some positives, I had that. He's in French immersion, and I don't speak French.
Yeah.
So homeschooling was really interesting. But, probably I'd say towards the mid to end April, I had reached a point where I couldn't, and I'm like, I have, my life is pretty put together, and all I thought about is how are families functioning who don't have supports, or who are struggling already with emotional, social, mental health issues, and I feel myself really on edge.
Right.
And fortunately, my husband is really supportive, and we work through everything together, and when we're a family together, and we have a dog, so that's, and you've met her. She's the office dog.
Oh, yes. Yes, exactly.
Molly, she comes to work with me every day, so, just trying to find things and saying, okay, if you don't get your homework done today, is that the worst thing? No. Okay, do you know what? Let's go for a bike ride. Let's go do things that are important for us as a family, and for him, for his mental health and well-being.
Definitely.
So we tried, but it was a struggle.
Oh, no question. And I think most of it even was the uncertainty, really, right?
Yeah.
Now you kind of have a system, right?
Yeah.
And you can, masks are uncomfortable, or face protection's uncomfortable, that kind of thing. But really, you're wearing it to protect the other person. So if everybody's wearing it to protect the other person, we're in good shape.
Yeah.
And if you're using sanitizer on a regular basis, you're probably getting 90% of safe anyway. So.
And we have to find a way to live right now.
Definitely.
We can't just stay cooped up at home. We have to find a way that is safe and engaging and supports our community, because if we all just shut up in our homes, then that's detrimental to our community.
Definitely.
From so many aspects.
Oh yeah, detrimental for our enjoyment of life in general. Yeah.
Yes.
I know that one thing I really miss in these COVID times is no hugging.
Yeah.
Man, I was like, I'm a hugger, and this is a problem.
It's funny. So Tanya Stilson.
Oh yeah.
Okay, she came to Breakfast Club this morning.
Oh yes.
So you've been to club before.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
And she hadn't been, and we've been back in person for, I don't know, maybe a month, and it's very distanced and everything. And she came in and she's going, I really realize I'm such a hugger. I'm having to hold on to my hands because I just want to hug everybody, and I can. And I realized maybe I invaded people's personal space before. It makes you, and I think shaking hands, right? That.
Yes.
It's all these things are just so different.
Exactly. It's just such a routine, but it's. So that part is a little bit negative, right? It's just not, that, and even where with masks you can't see smiles.
Yeah.
Right? Because the whole mirror and things, I see you smile and my brain lights up the same place as your brain's lighting up, right? So it's that's a little bit more challenging, but anyways, it's just different. You learn how to live in a different world.
Exactly, and adapt to it, and we will get through this. We will, at one point in time, all of this will be a memory. Remember when we had to do all these things? And it will eventually.
I agree.
We just have to relax, and we'll get there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like your optimism. I'm with you. It's going to happen.
Yes, I try.
Yeah. And so, what does your husband do anyways?
He works at Leon's Furniture.
Leon's Furniture?
Yeah. He has worked there since he was 17, so 20 some years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and he's a partner in the store as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
God, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And usually I know these things, but
Yeah, he's been there for a long time.
Cool. And so when you were talking about your son being in French immersion and you didn't know French, Vanessa, who I work with, she was in the same situation. Her boy Henry was in French immersion.
Yeah.
She didn't know French. Now she's supposed to do homeschooling and doesn't know French. Well, how do you pull that off?
You take your phone and you go to Google Translate and you hold it over what it says, and then you write on top of it in English what they're asking. It's very challenging if you do not speak French.
Yes.
It's doable. It just takes extra time to get through everything, especially younger. Once the kids are older and they can, I would say after like grade 5, most of them can really do their work on their own and don't need as much guidance and support. But those little ones, because grade 1 and 2, there is no English. It is all French. Yeah. So grade 3 is when they start to incorporate English.
Oh, interesting. Hey, when you, your child is in school, right? Do you think that there has been quite a bump up in homeschooling? Yeah,
I think that with the schools,
yes,
there's the at-home learning is through the school districts, and then the homeschooling is the other like provincial program that you get your materials and they get sent to you. I think that you're going to see more kids just doing work from home.
Got it.
And I mean, this year everything's offered that you had a choice as a parent.
Wait a minute. The at-home learning part, that's the same curriculum as if they're in school.
Yes.
But they do this at home.
They do it at home.
I did not know that. I thought there was just school or homeschool. No,
so homeschool is this other part, and then at-home learning is the 20-ish% of our kids are at home.
Okay.
And so schools, like my son goes to Nicola Sharon, so they have been able to offer French immersion at home.
Yes.
So they've paired Agnes Davidson and Nicola Sharon together, and then they actually have teaching staff for those kids.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm not sure exactly how, I think it's not like one per grade. It's a couple teachers that are doing grades kindergarten through grade 5.
Right. Oh, interesting. I didn't know there was a distinction at home and homeschooling.
Yeah.
I thought those were the same.
No, it's a little bit different.
So both of those, the at home part and the homeschooling, both of them are seeing or having more uptake now. Is that what
I mean, for at-home learning, that's never been offered before, right?
So that's all new. Anything there is growth.
Yeah, and we're seeing from our kids a little bit higher number of kids being at-home learning and not being in the schools.
Right.
Yeah.
So is that a positive or a negative? Like in terms of the kids' development, like at home, like I'm sure there's some parents who are really good at that, right? Yeah. And others that they're busy with other things and they don't have the time or energy or capacity to focus on it, right? Yeah. So is more movement from not being in school a good thing?
I don't know. I think it's more about what's best for. And I felt even deciding about Aiden going back to school.
Right.
It felt like this pendulum of like, it didn't matter what choice I made, it could have been a bad choice.
Got it.
As a family, we decided that going back to school was the best choice for him because 1, he's an only child.
Right.
So he doesn't have a lot of social interaction.
Sure. 2,
he's in French immersion. We don't speak French.
Yeah.
And 3, he wanted to go back.
Right.
And so I think it's just based on what families felt was the best choice for them at that time.
Right.
I don't know if there's going to be any repercussions of kids maybe behind. All of that we really aren't going to know until later. But I think the families who chose to keep kids at home are ones who are going to engage with the curriculum and make sure that kids are doing what they need to do.
That kind of have enough confidence in their ability to deliver a decent education experience for their child, right? So
exactly.
I think that'd be really hard, man. I mean, when my daughter was little, I mean, certainly she wouldn't listen to me very much. In comparison to a teacher, right?
Yeah.
The teacher held, and that makes sense, right? I mean, she's going there to learn, and
that's Well, I always said, like, I didn't go to university to be a teacher. I went to university for other things.
Yeah.
So I struggled trying to be that teacher
yes.
at home, and I know lots of other people did. But then there's other kids who thrived and did really well. So I think it really depends on the child, the home environment, and the support from there are families who are doing cohorts. So there's some families that have gotten 3 or 4 kids together, and then they kind of the parents kind of work out the curriculum amongst the families.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. And is that be on a homeschool type network, right?
With the at-home learning.
With the at-home learning.
With the at-home learning ones, yeah.
Interesting. And that's pretty, if you had families that you hung around with all the time.
That are in that circle,
right.
Then for sure I could see that.
I mean, you're kind of perhaps a little bit more excluding others, but you're doing it for safety reasons as well, right?
Yeah.
So,
and everybody's a little different, right? Some people are like, you know what, I can go and live my life and be safe about it, and other people are like, nope, I don't feel safe, I don't feel comfortable,
right,
I'm just gonna stay at home and limit all of that.
Yeah. Hey, you said the Breakfast Club meetings were, you just started back live, is that what you said?
Yeah, back in. So we do like a hybrid version. We have Zoom, and then we have people in.
Right, right. We're doing the same thing with Rotary.
Okay.
We're doing live and Zoom.
Yeah.
And between those, we do live Zoom, and then Zoom, or at least one Zoom between no live.
Oh, okay.
With the thought that if we had things go awry from this meeting, we have some time to kind of deal with that, right?
Okay.
And then we have another live again, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of how we've been doing it. And the Zoom ones, actually, because you can do it on Zoom, we've been attracting speakers from, like, a guy from India who talk about polio and, those kind of speakers.
So opportunities that come out of it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different, We're actually trying to get a interview with our probably who will be the first female president of Rotary, and she's a Canadian.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah, Jennifer Jones is her name, and she's like on the cusp of being regarded or accepted as the president. And I guess it's, I don't know, there's some kind of Rotary system where so many district governors have to vote and blah, blah, blah. So
the curler Jennifer Jones?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Isn't there a curler?
Yeah, there is
Jennifer?
a curler Jennifer Jones. Yeah, I don't know. I just know that she's like very, very smart woman, very caring woman, very articulate. Like I've seen her speak before, and she'll be awesome if that becomes a president.
That would be neat.
That would be good. Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
That is cool.
Yeah. And so, anyways, we might have a Zoom with her in the near future.
That'd be neat.
And that'd be good. So. Yeah.
No, it's working out to try to do it this way, just to be inclusive of everybody, right?
Yes, exactly. And we've got some members who, their health is a little iffy, they're a little bit older, they're saying, I don't want to come to a live meeting. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Like, watch the Zoom, we'll try and make it as interactive as we can, right? And don't worry about it, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
So.
And we're doing that with like board meetings now for us too, is that we've got some board members that are dying to get an in-person meeting, and we have other ones that just say, you know what, I've got an aging mother that I'm caring for, and I just don't want to open myself up to that risk. Okay, so we're going to do a hybrid version of both face and Zoom.
Yes.
And it works.
It does. I had one on Monday. It went horrendously bad. But the Zoom, I don't know why. I set up a recurring meeting on Zoom, and then I had another meeting in between there, and then somehow it took the login details from this meeting and kind of polluted my standing meeting, and so then people couldn't it was like, dang it. But
technology sometimes, right? Does
exactly. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass. But anyways, we got through it and it was okay, but it was a delay and you're dicking around. And really, you just about have to have resources, so that in that case, I was trying to run the meeting and keep the Zoom things happening, right? And that was, I should have arranged more resources to assist me with that. So well,
and we use Zoom for mentoring, and it works. We were really skeptical of running programs that way, and they were so well received that and it's that whole Zoom fatigue though. You have to be careful not to overdo it.
Yes, I think actually I was your first.
You were.
I was.
You were our first virtual screen. We'd never done it before, and that's because I had called you. I'm like, so how'd the process go? Did it work? Did you feel? And even my stuff, I was like, well, I know Alan, so okay. If it was somebody that we didn't have like maybe a previous relationship with, or we might have felt a little bit. Is this the right, way? But no, that's right.
Yeah, it was funny. Emma contacted me one time, and I was in my Skeetster bouncing around. Exactly. So manure all over the place, and I'm like in my dirty coveralls. And but
I think you guys, was it an interview? I think it might have been your interview or something like that. You were just working away, and she was asking her questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah. very, very qualified, very pleasant woman.
Oh, she's lovely.
Yeah,
And she's getting married.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
When's that happening?
July 24th.
Of 2021.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, she's getting
Nice.
married.
Well, good for her.
Yeah, and then Courtney,
Yes.
who you've interacted with, and she's having a baby.
Oh,
Yeah,
my goodness.
so 2021 is going to be a good year.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. Wow. And it even if things don't return to what they were before, it's going to be kind of like where we got our shit together and we know where we're going, right? You know, this is the
you have somewhat of a if this happens, we know what to do, right?
Exactly.
A little bit less of unknowns.
Right, exactly. And I think that's a big part of it. I think that the being unsure, I think, leads to a lot of stress, right? To have some kind of a plan and just the kind of acceptance about how we're going to get the things done, I think is life is a lot easier to manage that way. So,
yes, definitely.
Yes. We're pretty much where we should be wrapping this up.
All right.
Now, normally, I sing a song.
Oh.
Yeah. And now I asked you what songs you like, and you sent them to me.
I sent you 3, yeah.
You sent me 3. I know. And I would like to say, what I wanted to do was I was going to take and learn one of those songs.
Oh, okay.
So that I could sing it. And then I thought, well, I'm not sure how good that's going to be anyways, because with no music, with just being a cappella.
Yeah.
But the one, there's 3. The one was about the guy considering suicide was the first one. Yeah. And that was a downer song.
It is a downer song, but it's such a good song.
Yeah. I couldn't engage with that song. But that Georgia by
Vance Joy.
That's a beautiful song.
It is. Vance Joy is, if you're not a fan of Vance Joy, you need to become a fan, because he's Australian. He's so good.
Oh, very talented.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Way more talented than I am. So I couldn't sing his song, but I loved it. It was a really good song.
Yeah.
So, and I can't remember what the third one was.
Japandroid.
Japandroid.
And they're from Vancouver.
Yes, that's right. And that was about like heaven, that song, was it?
No, well, it's the house that heaven built, but it's
house that heaven built.
Yeah, so it's I mean, their perspectives are always about, they're kind of dark, but they're very Vancouver based, like what happens in Vancouver.
All right, got it.
But they're really good too.
All right. Well, anyways, my hope was I was take one of those songs, I'd engage with it, I'd learn it.
Maybe not the best.
In the end, I'm going to blame Rotary Rib Fest. I was too busy with Rotary Rib Fest.
You were busy this weekend.
Oh man, it was crazy, but it was good.
That's good. I'm really glad that it was successful.
So I can't sing them with any of these, but you know what? I'm going to sing a song that I think we should all adapt in these COVID times, in this season, okay? And it's a song by Paul Thorne, okay? And basically, if the lyrics of the chorus, if we could keep that in mind, I think life would be pretty simple. Okay, so you ready?
Okay.
All right, okay. Eating fried chicken, mama's cornbread. I got a V8 Ford that's cherry red. I heard a little voice inside my head. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. I do believe it now. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Riding on the back of a dragonfly with Mississippi moonshine in my. I'm heading south on southern skies. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Hallelujah. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright.
Love it.
Thank you. Anyways, I love that song.
It's a good song.
So thanks very much for being on the show.
Me.
That was fun.
Yeah, lots of fun.
Cool. Excellent. And maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Rotary Rib Fest, we had over 4,000 cars.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, it was good. And our 50-50.
What did it go for? I didn't...
10 grand.
Well, we did go for the full. That's great.
And we sold it out by Saturday at 4.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, and I got a little crazy with this, but I think it was still good. I took all the tickets and put them in a plastic bag, and then put a little Rotary thing about Rotary in the plastic bag, and then sanitized the plastic bags. So when people came, I handed them...
Oh, that's really smart.
Yeah, took my little card reader, they tapped their card, and I give them their plastic bag, right?
Oh, that's easy.
Most people, though, didn't give a shit. $12,000 of the money we got on the 50-50 was cash. I thought it was going to be all credit card,
Wow.
but 12,000 of the 20,000 was cash.
Holy.
Yeah, it's just like, all right.
People don't care. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people that just, it didn't matter. And we were wearing face protections,
Yeah.
right? But a lot of people weren't, so, yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole.
But they were in their cars.
Yeah, so most people maybe wouldn't in their cars. I see that. Yeah.
But anyways, it was fun.
Good, I'm glad.
Yeah.
We're trying to put together a provincial-wide 50-50 for all Big Brothers in Alberta.
Oh, cool.
So I had a meeting today, so I'm hopeful that we can get everybody to do it, and we're looking at doing